Namaskar, good evening. I request Mr. Vikas Singh, President SCBA, Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Vice President SCBA, to kindly escort Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Judge Supreme Court of India, Honorable Mr. Justice B.R. Gavai, the Chief Justice of India, and Mr. R. Venkatramani, Learned Attorney General for India, to the dais. Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. Yeah. I welcome Honorable Mr. Justice Bhushan Ramakrishna Gavai, Chief Justice of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court, Learned Attorney General for India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, Sir, Solicitor General of India, Law Officers, Mr. Vipin Nair, President, and Mr. Nikhil Jain, Secretary Scora, Senior Advocates and members of the Bar. I also welcome all the family members and friends of Justice Dhulia who are present here in large number. I request Mr. Mukesh Kumar, Member Executive SCBA, to give planter to Honorable Mr. Justice Bhushan Ramakrishna Gavai, Chief Justice of India. I request Mr. Manish Mohan, sir, Member Executive SCBA, to present planter to Chief Justice of India. I request Mr. Ashish Kumar Sinha, Member Executive SCBA, to present planter to R. Venkatramani, Learned Attorney General for India. I request Ms. Andita Pujari, Senior Member Executive SCBA, to present a bouquet of flowers to Ms. Sumitra Dhulia, Mother of Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia. I request Ms. Samta Pushkarna Mishra, Member Executive SCBA, to present bouquet of flowers to Mrs. Vaishali Dhulia, wife of Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia. Today we have gathered here not just to mark the retirement of Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, but to celebrate a legacy shaped by quiet strength, deep humanity, and unwavering constitutional commitment. From the very beginning, Justice Dhulia carried with him the values of simplicity, humility, and clarity of thoughts. Sir, in my personal experience, I had a privilege to appear before your Lordship in the matter of Shiv Shankar Sharma versus State of Jharkhand, where your Lordship, sitting with then Chief Justice of India, Justice U.U. Lalit, laid down important principles governing the misuse of public interest litigation. As a result of your judgment, more than 200 frivolous PILs were disposed of in Jharkhand High Court, thereby preserving the integrity and seriousness of PIL jurisprudence. In the much-discussed hijab case, your dissenting judgment stood out not only for its constitutional depth, but for its human sensitivity. You reminded the nation that education is meant to open minds, not close identities. Your Lordship says it is ultimately a matter of choice, nothing more, nothing less. Lordship's judicial philosophy can perhaps best be summed up by the evocative words of Ramdhari Singh Dinkar. जिनके सत्य ने कभी हार नहीं मानी, वही समय की धारा मोड़ते हैं. It means those whose truth has never bowed in defeat, they are the ones who shape the course of time. Justice Dhulia is one who stood by the Constitution, stood with her reason, and stood for the silent. We express our deepest gratitude, extend our warmest wishes for a fulfilling life ahead. I now request Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Vice President of SCBA, to kindly give his welcome address.
Hon'ble Mr. Justice B.R. Gavai, Chief Justice of India, Hon'ble Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Judge Supreme Court, family members of Justice Dhulia, his mother, Mrs. Sumitra Dhulia, his wife, Mrs. Vaishali Dhulia, brothers, Mr. Himanshu Dhulia, Tigmanshu Dhulia, his sons, Dr. Shoren Dhulia, Mr. Sarang Dhulia, who is a practicing lawyer, Mr. Shashank Dhulia, Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court, Mr. R. Venkatramani, Learned Attorney General for India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, Learned Solicitor General of India, other law officers, Shri Vikas Singh, President SCBA, Mrs. Pragya Baghel, Honorary Secretary SCBA, Mr. Vipin Nair, President SCORA, Mr. Amit Sharma, Vice President SCORA, Mr. Nikhil Jain, Honorary Secretary SCORA, senior advocates, and my fellow colleagues at the bar, a very good evening to you all. On behalf of the whole Executive Committee, I welcome you all. I also take this opportunity to thank Honorable Mr. Justice B.R. Gavai, Chief Justice of India, for agreeing to SCBA request to provide the hall on the second floor for snacks after the function in addition to the ground floor. It was not graceful in the SCBA functions to have snacks on the ground floor only, and which would get very crowded because of lack of space. This was not being allowed for last 3 years, and with Justice Gavai, we just have to make a request, and it is done immediately. A big thanks to you, sir. When he says bar and bench are equal stakeholders, he means it. Today we have gathered here to bid farewell to Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia. Justice Dhulia was born on 10th of August 1916 in Pauri Galwal, Uttarakhand, and his family hails from Madanpur, a village situated in Pauri Galwal district, Uttarakhand. He did his schooling in Dehradun and Allahabad and Sainik School, Lucknow. In 1981, he completed his graduation from Allahabad University, followed by a master's in modern history from Jawaharlal Nehru University in 1983. After completing his postgraduate studies, Justice Dhulia completed his LLB in 1986 from Allahabad University and started his practice before the Allahabad High Court. After the formation of the state of Uttarakhand in November 2000, he expanded his practice to Uttarakhand High Court, and in 2000 was appointed as the first Chief Standing Counsel of Uttarakhand State, and later appointed the State Additional Advocate General. He was a counsel for Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, State Industrial Development Corporation of Uttarakhand Limited, Bhagirathi River Valley Authority, amongst others. He was designated as a senior advocate by the Uttarakhand High Court in 2004. His father, Shri Kesu Dhulia, was also a judge of Allahabad High Court, and mother was a Sanskrit professor. One of his brothers is noted Indian film director Tigmanshu Dhulia, who has directed famous Hindi movies like Pan Singh Tomar. Justice Dhulia was elevated as a judge of the Uttarakhand High Court on 1st November 2008. He took oath as Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court on 10th of January 21 and served there until his elevation as Judge of Supreme Court of India on 9th of May 2022. Throughout his judicial tenure, from the Uttarakhand High Court as Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court and finally here at the Supreme Court, Justice Dhulia delivered judgment that will resonate for years to come. One of his most profound contributions to constitutional law was his dissent in the case of, in the 9-judge bench in Property Owner Association versus State of Maharashtra, dealing with Article 39B. While the majority adopted a narrower interpretation of what constitutes material resources of the community, Justice Dhulia, with his characteristic boldness, reminded us that constitutional ideals must be read expansively. He held that private property, which, when necessary and justifiable, could indeed be directed toward the common good, provided legislative safeguards were in place. His dissent wasn't merely legal reasoning. It was a philosophical assertion that Constitution is a living document meant to uplift, not entrench privilege. In Aishat Chifa versus State of Karnataka, a division bench of Justice Hemant Gupta and Justice Dhulia delivered a split verdict. in a plea challenging the validity of Karnataka government order prohibiting female Muslim students from wearing hijab in educational institutions. Justice Dhulia, in his judgment, found the government order invalid and stated that wearing a hijab should be a matter of choice. It's a matter of conscious belief and expression. Another significant contribution came in matters involving individual liberty and procedural fairness. Whether it was bail jurisprudence or service law, Justice Dhulia ensured that justice was not lost in the rigidity of procedure. His understanding of environmental law, administrative discretion, and minority rights constantly reflected his deep grounding in constitutional morality and social justice. In one of his speeches recently, Justice Dhulia said that his judicial philosophy is around human beings, and everything which is benefit for the human beings is judicial philosophy. In his commencement lecture recently at Jindal Global Law School, he beautifully described law as a journey, not toward titles or rewards, but toward justice and moral clarity. He further remarked, India was born out of love, not hate. This powerful assertion was part of his broader reflections on India's constitutional ethos and its foundational values of inclusivity, equality, and fraternity. He further elaborated, this country was written off, but we have proved them wrong. Our governments and democracy have survived. A lot of milestones have been crossed, but a lot is left to be achieved. The main difference is our constitution. At the time of our country's creation was born on religion and got divided because of language. One of the reasons people say our country stays united is mainly the constitution. His words stand as a timely reminder of the principles that continue to define India's identity as a nation rooted in love and mutual respect. Justice Dhulia in court was never loud, never flamboyant, and yet he commanded the courtroom with natural grace and quiet authority. His presence on the bench was always reassuring. He possessed a rare ability to simplify the most complex of legal arguments with just a sentence, often delivered with a touch of humor or subtle but sharp sarcasm that would leave both the courtroom smiling and counsel introspecting. It is well known among the members of the bar that Justice Dhulia had a witty edge and a twinkle in his eye, often making an astute observation wrapped in humor, reminding us all that the practice of law, though serious, need not always be solemn. His humor never undermined, it uplifted. His sarcasm never hurt, it healed. And in doing so, he made the court a more human and humble space. Just a few lines for Justice Dhulia. वो तिरछी मुस्कान थी, जवाबों में जान थी, हिंदी के व्यंग में न्याय की शान थी, ना तेवर उग्र, ना ऊंची जबान, पर हर फैसला करता था सबका सम्मान. भैया सीधी सी बात है, जब कहते थे वो तो हर मुस्कान में न्याय दिखाते थे वो. दलीलें थी भारी पर माहौल हल्का, हंसी में लिपटी थी सच्चाई की झलक, हर एक बात में था गहरा विवेक, हर भाव में भी था संयम और नीति का लेख. कभी प्रेमचंद की मिसाल, कभी गीता का ज्ञान, वो निर्णय देते थे जैसे वो धर्म और मानवता का संगान. With this, we wish you, sir, a very happy second innings. We know you are very fond of golf, and probably you will get some more time for golf, which you are really fond of, is some more time for the family. Ma'am is here. So thank you, sir.
I now request Mr. R. Venkatramani, London Attorney General for India, to kindly deliver his address.
We had a wonderful beginning today in the ceremonial bench, and a very thoughtful and intelligent life partner of Justice Dhulia asked the Honorable Judge, as the judge said today in the ceremonial bench, asked him as to what he is going to miss post-retirement. Justice Dhulia said, going by his statement, that he is going to miss Hindustan. He explained what he meant by that, and that he meant the Supreme Court bar, which is a replica of the social and cultural diversity of a country as Hindustan. I stand here today on behalf of the Hindustan here, assembled here, and to express our deep sense of gratitude and satisfaction for the time spent by the Honorable Judge, without any expectation of returns, and a human-centered, focused contributions by the Honorable Judge. Your family is like an alchemical soup. Being part of a family of people, the grandfather, a freedom fighter who made sacrifices for the nation, his father who adorned the High Court of Allahabad with great accomplishments, and others in his family were credited with remarkable contributions. Justice Dhulia, naturally the product of that alchemy. But he had his own individual alchemy, which made him the kind of the person eminently suitable to be on the Supreme Court bench. In the course of my address yesterday, in the function organized by SCORA, I mentioned about the challenges involved in being a judge in the constitutional courts in contemporary times. It calls for a constant orientation and a reorientation in order that the highest levels of fairness and feel for justice are demonstrated. It should be stated to the credit of Justice Dhulia that he skillfully and thoughtfully navigated these challenges. The wide range of his judicial opinions are a product of this navigation. We make a mention about, on the lighter side, of how the sense of reason and rightness can come into play in certain hilarious circumstances. The High Court, particular High Court, directed the astrology department of a university to find out if an alleged rape victim is a Mangalik or not, since the accused was not inclined to marry her. The bench headed by Justice Dhulia rightly stayed that said direction in the interest of justice. I think this is how we understand, I said, the mixture of reason and emotion. The judiciary operates on a presumption of impartiality reinforced by judicial oaths. It is important to hold on to the view that judicial decisions are not presumed to be colored due to opinion held by a judge on public matters. Public perception is not to be viewed in isolation. They have to be viewed as a part of a larger picture. The perception of an individual as to the impartiality of a judge is a piece in the jigsaw puzzle. But that's not the entire picture. In certain areas of adjudication, emotions of a judge should and ought to be an integral part of the justice dispensation system. We all know judges are not robots, and justice dispensation cannot be substituted by artificial intelligence. As we scan the views expressed by Justice Dhulia while heading the bench, either in the case of irretrievably broken marriage, which calls for dissolution regardless of other consideration, a death row convict seeking a psychiatric assessment for the purpose of understanding the mitigating circumstances on the offense, or even while directing grant of due security to the medical professionals against physical abuse or manhandling in hospitals, he brought out that subtle interplay of emotions and reason. We now notice that in the case of rape victims, many of whom are below the age of 15, keep coming to the court seeking justice in a variety of circumstances. The sensitivity which is required to handle them and to ensure that the victim does not suffer a further trauma in the course of seeking justice is of great relevance. While Justice Dhulia was heading the Guwahati High Court in one such case, issued a series of directions regarding the nature of medical examination for determination of the age of the victim. This order is remarkably a matter of heightened sensitivity. I will conclude with reference to two opinions. Both of them are in demonstration of Justice Dhulia's deep sense of social understanding and the pathos of some aspects of our life. While quashing a proceeding of Maharashtra Slum Rehabilitation Authority, the bench of which Justice Dhulia was a part observed thus, I read, "Slums of Mumbai are symbolic of the existing inequalities in our society. The growth of industries and urban centers invariably result in migration of rural population to urban industrial areas in search of employment. The migrant displaced poor and the marginalized are forced by circumstances to form a living space of themselves, which are called slums." What a heightened sensitivity to us. I refer to the hijab matter, which has been referred to again, which travels from the Karnataka High Court to the Supreme Court. I mentioned about it in my SCORA speech yesterday, but it deserves a second reference. When I tried to canvass the proposition before the Honorable Judge, that there can be no wall of separation between the teacher and the student, a crisp and thoughtful response from the judge came like this. I read it. "If she wants to wear hijab, even inside a classroom, she cannot be stopped. If it is worn as a matter of her choice, as it will be the only way where a conservative family will permit her to go to school. In those cases, her hijab is a ticket to education." I think these are matters where no polar, bipolar, or opposite opinions are not matters of understanding, but something that goes beyond that. What a deeply thoughtful and reflective statement it is. I gather Justice Dhulia understood that all rights are embedded in a complex web of factors and situations. All his opinions are reflective of all this. Justice Dhulia has been with us only for a short period, but he will be long with us. Again, on behalf of the bar, I wish Dhulia and his family a great life ahead.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. Vikas Singh, President SCBA, to kindly deliver his address.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Justice Bhushan Ram Krishna Gawai, Honorable Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Honorable Judges of this Court, the learned Attorney General for India, the Solicitor General of India, other law officers present here today, Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Vice President of the SCBA, Pragya Baghel, Secretary SCBA, members of the Executive Committee of the SCBA, Vipin Nair, President SCORA, and members of the Executive Committee of SCORA, members of the family of Justice Dhulia, and my very special welcome to Srimati Sumitra Dhulia, his mother, who's present with us today. Madam, it is with your blessings Justice Dhulia has come so far, and we are very happy and proud that you are with us today. Other family members of Justice Dhulia, his wife, his children, ladies and gentlemen. Today, we also had a ceremonial bench in the morning. And I had a lot of requests from many eminent seniors who wanted to speak on this occasion. So I told them that if you want to speak, you speak there at this. Somebody wanted to recite a poem, because I felt that that function is meant for the general bar. And I'm so happy to say that everybody who spoke there spoke from his heart about his feelings of how he felt during his interaction with Justice Dhulia as a judge. And it shows the immense popularity of Justice Dhulia as a judge, and his decisiveness, his preparation, his demeanor, his behavior with the members of the bar, because that is actually the real occasion where the entire members of the bar have an opportunity to voice their views with regard to their feelings about his tenure as a judge of the Supreme Court. Justice Dhulia's early life has not been very easy. He was, after studying his MA in Jawaharlal Nehru University, he wanted to pursue a master's program in the Syracuse University in the US. He had also got admission there, but he didn't have the funds to do it, to go there and study. He joined law in the hope that someday his father may agree to send him to Syracuse, but unfortunately his father expired. And it is then that destiny was shaped, and Justice Dhulia, instead of studying abroad in a different subject, ended up becoming a lawyer and becoming an asset for the institution. His mother has played a very active role in his early life. She has struggled. She was a teacher herself. She's taken care of the family. She used to fend for all of them. Her contribution in his life is outstanding. We salute all such mothers who take this kind of a role and responsibility in bringing up children like this and giving such values to the child to become good human beings and to do good work professionally. I have seen Justice Dhulia. I've interacted in some judgments, and I want to mention one of them, which I think was a difficult case, a very difficult case for me. There was this client of mine who had an interim order by the Supreme Court, whose passport was seized by the Supreme Court. It was a child custody issue. His child was in the US, and on one of the dates, in spite of his passport being in the custody of the Supreme Court, even without telling me, he just vanished and went to the US. I found out that he had actually got a US passport issued. He was a green card holder. He applied for a US passport on the ground that his child is there. And he had gone to the US. Justice Dhulia, rightly so, and Justice Mishra was also there in that bench. They were livid, rightly so, that how could he defy the order of the Supreme Court? How could he leave the country like this? So he passed an order in a huff saying that he should be arrested and he should be extradited. So I pointed out, of course, with all the respect at my command, I said, please don't pass an order which can't be implemented, because the extradition can't be done in a matter of this kind, especially in a custody matter, when he's a US citizen. So Justice Dhulia very fairly admitted to me in court that I am not also very conversant with this branch of law. I will check up and see whether this order can be passed or not. And lo behold, when I saw the order, the extradition sentence had been withdrawn. This shows the maturity of a judge. While passing matters of moment, you need to reflect. You need to see what are the far-reaching consequences that the order can have. And that is exactly what Justice Dhulia did. In another matter of an irretrievable breakdown of marriage, normally Supreme Court judges say irretrievable breakdown, although not a ground of divorce in the Hindu Marriage Act, under 142 we will excise that jurisdiction. Twice an amendment was sought into the Hindu Marriage Act to include irretrievable breakdown as marriage as a ground for divorce, and both times it was not passed by the Parliament. So Justice Dhulia, in an irretrievable breakdown of marriage, instead of using 142, said this amounted to cruelty, which is also a ground for divorce, which I think is, again giving respect to the rule of law, and rather than, using 142, exercising the actual jurisdiction which is available, which is cruelty, which is a ground on which divorce can be granted in this country. His judgment on hijab, whatever be the legal issues, but the social impact of the judgment is immense. What ultimately are we doing by insisting on hijab? We ultimately will end up actually ensuring that a lot of these girls don't come to regular schools and go back to madrasas. Are we wanting to achieve that? Is that the ultimate objective? The objective is to enforce a certain amount of discipline. But discipline for the purpose of a dress code, which their religion, even if they wrongly perceive it to be an essential part, it is not an essential part, it is well settled, but even if they consider it to be an essential part, what difference does it make if you allow such children to come? So apart from the legal issue, I think the impact of the judgment has a huge social issue of ensuring that every section of our society remains part of mainstream India instead of, doing something which will alienate them. Even when there was a matter against a High Court judge, contempt was filed. He again protected the judge, because ultimately we have to protect the institution also. The High Courts also have to be protected. If we start accepting contempts against High Court, it will actually erode the confidence of the people against the institution which is the higher judiciary. His decision to vacate the residence the same day, it is outstanding. I think this is a huge way to enhance the prestige of the institution which is the Supreme Court. He retires on the 9th, on the 10th he leaves from Mussoorie, from Dehradun and Mussoorie, and then he goes from there, when he comes back, he goes to his new home. Now we've had a recent example of a Chief Justice wanting to overstay. Chief Justice is allowed 6 months only. He had already stayed in that house for 8 months. I was surprised to see him using the ground of his disabled children. But the real reason was that even after 8 months, he said that he's looking for a private home. Ultimately, he went to a government home. So obviously, while he was in tenure, There was some arrangement with the government which is going to give him something, and that is why he didn't move to the private home. He moved straight away to a government home, and he's not entitled to any government accommodation. 6 months is the maximum with the Chief Justice, and the Honorable Chief Justice Gawai mentioned yesterday that whatever is the time, he will definitely vacate before time. This enhances the prestige of the institution, because day in and day out, you have to decide when a minister overstays or a bureaucrat overstays. And you invariably have to pass difficult orders asking for their eviction from the allotted official bungalow. If you can't do it yourself, how can you do it judicially for people, other people who want to? Everybody has got a good excuse, some of the other excuse. But you can't be permitted. You knew that you had these children with you. You should have planned your things much earlier, but if you wanted to get a government bungalow and that was getting delayed, and because of which you did not leave the government bungalow till you got another government bungalow, which is not entitled to, then of course there is something sinister. Justice Dhulia and I have a little bit of similarity. He also plays tennis. He used to play tennis in his university days. We in fact have a common tennis player friend, Deepak Bhargav from Allahabad. And I played with Deepak even now once in a while when he comes to Delhi. Now after his retirement, I'm sure he'll get all his time to play his 18 hole of golf, because I'm sure now he would not have played more than 9 holes in this tenure while as judge of the Supreme Court. And I was requesting him just now before coming on the dais that he should also try and get back into his game of tennis, because I remember Justice Bobde also used to play for the university, and when we did one of our tournaments, he had not played for almost 20 years. We did the Supreme Court tournament, and I just asked him that why don't you come and hit a couple of balls. He not only hit balls, he actually played for a good 10-15 minutes, and he had a very good game. And he said, I've not touched the racket for 20 years. So I'm requesting Justice Dhulia to restart this game, and I look forward, sir, if I get an opportunity, if you are back on the tennis court to play a game with you, it will be my privilege. I wish Justice Dhulia the best of his next innings. I'm already seeing him relaxed. His face is much more relaxed. Of course, he used to always be relaxed in court. Nobody can complain that he used to be tense in his court while sitting in court. But this relaxation is a little different from that relaxation in court, because there that relaxation included the pressure of reading the briefs. At least now you don't have the pressure of reading the briefs. So all my very good wishes to you, sir. And since you are going to be in Delhi, I'm sure we'll be interacting quite frequently. And we will also be troubling you for issues of the bar. I forgot to mention, we have Justice Rastogi also here, a retired judge with us. It's very nice to see you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I've been told that Justice Dhulia said during a conference, lawyers speak for a living, judges listen for legacy. But today, lawyers would like to listen to honorable judges for a legacy. With this, I request Honorable Chief Justice of India to kindly deliver his address.
My esteemed brother, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, my esteemed colleagues present here, and their better halves, Mataji Sumitra Dhulia ji, Vaishali Bhabhi ji, the brothers, sons, and daughter-in-laws, and other members of the family of Brother Sudhanshu Dhulia, the Learned Attorney General for India, Shri Tushar Mehta, the Learned Solicitor General for India, and other law officers of the Government of India, Shri Vikas Singh, the President of SCORA, SCBA, yeah. He was talking something about SCORA, but I won't make it public. I told him whatever you want to do it only after 24th of November. Rahul, Pragnya, and other office bearers of the SCBA, Sri Nair, the President of SCORA, and other office bearers of SCORA, Secretary General and the registrars of the Supreme Court. Very good evening to all of you. When a judge departs the bench, it invites the entire legal community to pause, to reflect on their contributions, honor their services, and reconceive the evolving role of judiciary in safeguarding rights, liberty, and democratic values. Today we bid farewell to Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, whose journey across almost 4 decades has embodied constitutional ethos and intellectual rigor. His retirement from this court marks the close of a deeply distinguished chapter in India's judicial history. Right now I am reminded of the iconic song sung by Mohammad Rafi, Abhi na jao chhodkar, dil abhi vara nahi, which captures the sentiments of the moment perfectly. Just as the song poignantly expresses a sense of longing, so do we feel that Justice Dhulia's departure leaves an unfulfilled space in our hearts and in our court. As I shared in the morning, Justice Dhulia belongs to a family of exceptional achievers. His father, Sri Keshav Chandra Dhulia, served as a judge of the Allahabad High Court, and his mother, Srimati Sumitra Dhulia, was a professor of Sanskrit. He is fortunate to have presence of his mother to bless him and all of us on this august occasion. His grandfather, Pandit Bhairav Dutt Dhulia, was a freedom fighter who endured years of imprisonment during the Quit India movement. His brother, Tigmanshu Dhulia, is a well-known filmmaker and actor known for his work in Indian cinema, particularly for his mastery in storytelling and direction. On the other hand, his other brother, Himanshu Dhulia, has dedicated his life to serving the nation through the Indian Navy, holding a senior officer's position. Together, the Dhulia brothers trio represent a remarkable blend of artistic creativity and patriotic service, with each making their mark in their respective fields. His children are achievers too. One of Justice Dhulia's son, Sharan, is a lawyer. The other one, Shireen, is a doctor. And third one, Shashank, is still a student. Though they do not have daughters, but they have daughters in their daughter-in-laws, Devina and Dharvi. Over the course of his illustrious career as a judge, Justice Dhulia delivered several landmark decisions that have had a lasting impact on Indian jurisprudence. His judgments touched upon a wide range of critical issues, from matters concerning the transfer of property to individuals, where he interpreted legal frameworks with a keen eye on fairness and equity, to rulings that safeguarded the fundamental rights of citizens in the context of social justice. His contributions were as diverse as they were significant. Justice Dhulia was also deeply committed to addressing the pressing issue of manual scavenging, a practice that has long been a strain on our society and a violation of basic human dignity. He was actively involved in hearing a continuous mandamus aimed at eliminating the menace of manual scavenging deaths, a problem that has claimed countless lives, particularly amongst the most marginalized communities in India. Through this continuous mandamus, Justice Dhulia sought to ensure that the authorities took sustained action to eradicate this practice, which had persisted despite constitutional guarantees of dignity and equality. Thus, his judgments reflect a jurisprudence that blend legal precision with empathy, constitutional trust with individual dignity, and legal reasoning with societal conscience. For his fellow judges, he was a trusted colleague, one who provided thoughtful insights, a listening ear, and a steadying presence during difficult deliberations. For the lawyers who stood before him, he was a symbol of fairness, someone who valued the arguments presented before him, regardless of their source. His calm demeanor and a patient listening created an atmosphere in the courtroom that made even the most difficult of cases seem more manageable. But perhaps it is the way he treated the court staff that speaks volumes about his character. In a profession where power and authority can sometimes overshadow compassion, Justice Dhulia always remained grounded. He never hesitated to acknowledge the vital role played by those who supported him in administering justice, whether it were the law clerks, the officers, or the administrative staff. To him, every member of the court was an equal contributor to the mission of justice. And he treated them with the same respect he extended to his colleagues and lawyers. Justice Dhulia has always been deeply invested in nurturing the future of young minds, understanding that the next generation holds the key to progress and justice. For his law clerks, he was much more than just a boss. He was a compassionate mentor and a caring figure who guided them not only in their professional duties, but also in their personal growth. He took the time to understand their aspirations, offering both encouragement and constructive feedback, ensuring they felt supported in their journey towards becoming legal professionals of integrity and expertise. For young law students, Justice Dhulia has been a beacon of wisdom. He took time out from his busy schedule to address the orientation sessions of freshly enrolled law students. Beyond his contributions to the legal community, Justice Dhulia is a source of inspiration for the larger public. Recently, Justice Dhulia revisited his alma mater, the esteemed Captain Manoj Kumar Pandey, UP Sainik School in Lucknow, where he inaugurated the Rani Lakshmibai Girls Hostel. Justice Dhulia urged the students to read widely, from insightful memoirs that capture the resilience of individuals to exploring contemporary fields like artificial intelligence. I also wish to highlight that a lesser known but personally significant aspect of his life in his early involvement with the theatre. A passion he pursued during his higher studies. He has always had a deep passion for movies, especially Italian cinemas and timeless classics. Ever since his college days, he has been actively involved in films, literature, and the cinematic arts. A voracious reader, he even took time to learn Urdu, adding yet another feather to his creative cap. Had he not chosen the legal profession, it is no exaggeration to say that Justice Dhulia would have excelled as a filmmaker or an actor. Given his deep appreciation for the art of storytelling and his natural ability to connect with people, his passion for the arts was always evident, and many who knew him well often remarked on how his flair for drama and presentation would have translated perfectly into the world of cinema. One story he sometimes shared with his fellow judges in the court corridors is particularly telling of his connection to the world of film. He spoke fondly of the world Hasil, released in 2003 and directed by his brother Tigmanshu. Justice Dhulia shared how the film captured the spirit of his alma mater, Allahabad University, the place he had once called home, its student politics, and the cultural dynamics. Recently, he was felicitated by his alma mater, along with 3 of our other colleagues who are proud products of Allahabad University. For Justice Dhulia, Hasil was not just a movie, but a reflection of the environment in which he had grown up. On a lighter note, had Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia stepped into his brother Tigmanshu's shoes to play the character of Ramdir Singh in The Gangs of Wasepur, I believe that the character would have still been unforgettable. On behalf of my colleagues in the Supreme Court of India, I extend my deepest gratitude and heartfelt appreciation for Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia's remarkable years of dedicated service to the judiciary and to the nation. His unwavering commitment to justice, his intellectual rigor, and his sense of integrity have left an inedible mark on the court, and his legacy will continue to guide us for years to come. As he embarks on the next chapter of his life, we sincerely hope that the days ahead bring him peace, fulfillment, and joy, and that he enjoys the well-deserved rest and contentment that comes after such a distinguished career. At the same time, it is important to recognize and acknowledge the sacrifices of his family, who have been steadfast pillars of support throughout his journey. His mother, Sumitra ji, is present here to bless him and all of us. It is said that behind every man, every successful man, there is a woman. And I think Vaishali Bhabi truly resembles that. Justice Dhulia's family, his brothers Timanshu and Himanshu, his sons, the daughters-in-law, and other members of the family have stood by him, offering their unwavering support and understanding through the years. Now it's time for him to spend more time with those and have shared in his dreams and challenges, and who have been his anchor throughout his illustrious career. May he find joy in the company of his loved ones as he enjoys the fruits of his labor and the warmth of family bonds, and have only grown stronger over time. As he has declared, he will be available in Delhi, and I'm sure that he will be starting his third innings very shortly. I have no doubt that he will be as successful in the third innings also, whatever he chooses to do. However, I hope that he finds more time to return to the arts, literature, theatre, and of course, the golf that he has long cherished. He has been after me, he and Justice Rastogi have been after me to join golf for a long time. However, I could not. After 3.5 months, I would be following Justice Dhulia, and fortunately, this is the last retirement speech that I am making. And I promised Justice Dhulia that after, and Ajay Bhai, that after November 24th, I will join them in golf and we'll spend more evenings together. Though we are living 2 houses apart, we could not meet quite often, but that I think we will compensate after 24th November. I wish all the best for the third innings to Justice Dhulia on behalf of all of my colleagues and all of you. And best of health, happiness, peace and tranquility to him, Vaishali Bhabi, and all the members of his family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Let us now welcome Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia with a round of applause. I request sir to address the gathering.
बात करनी मुझे मुश्किल कभी ऐसी तो न थी, जैसी अब है तेरी महफिल कभी ऐसी तो न थी. See, what happens is that when you want to say so much, you can hardly speak, and that is my condition right now. Good evening to all of you. Justice Bhushan Ramakrishna Gawai, Honorable Chief Justice of India, my dear sister and brother judges of the Supreme Court, Shri R. Venkata Ramani, the learned Attorney General of India, Shri Tushar Mehta, the learned Solicitor General of India, Mr. Vikas Singh, President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Vice President of SCBA, Mrs. Pragya Baghel, the Secretary of SCBA, and all the office bearers of SCBA, Mr. Vipin Nair, Mr. Amit Sharma, Mr. Nikhil Jain, and all the office bearers of SCORA. My former colleague from the Supreme Court, Justice Rastogi, is here. Justice Shakdar from Delhi High Court is here. Members of Registry, members of the Bar Association, and all the lawyers present here, and my family members. As I look back and review my journey, one thing I'm very confident, and I do this, of course, with the wisdom of hindsight, wisdom and advantage of hindsight. I can safely say that I took a right decision of choosing law as a career and becoming a lawyer, because there is no other profession in the world which keeps you so close to the society. This is the profession where you are always, you know, the trials and tribulations of men and women in this country. And then it is also very intellectually stimulating, and it gives you a chance to make a positive contribution to the society. So therefore, today, I first of all must pay my deepest gratitude to my father and mother, who made great sacrifices in raising their children in Allahabad, for the simple reason that in the first instance, it was not easy for them to come to Allahabad. See, we were a family, we were staying in a small cantonment hill town called Lansdowne. My father was a lawyer, my mother was a school teacher in Government Girls High School. And then my father decided to go to Allahabad to practice before the High Court. And there were no immediate prospects for this family to go to Allahabad. But then we did, and there hangs a tale. What happened was that while we were with our mother, I was at about 6.5 years of age. My elder brother was 1.5 years senior to me. And we were in Dehradun being the maternal home of my mother. So it was winters. My mother took his children, both of us, to watch an English film called Hatari. I'm sure most of you have seen this film. It has got John Wayne and the African jungles and catching of rhinoceros. So it was great fun, the movie. But by the time we came out of the cinema hall, it was already dark, being winters. And we had to cross the busy Rajpur road of Dehradun. It used to be busy even at that time. And the two of us just refused to cross the road because both of us were terrified by seeing so many motor cars and vehicles. You see, we were from lands. We had not seen so many cars in our life. So we just hung close to our mother, to her great embarrassment, and we were howling. So somehow we must have crossed the road at some point of time. But then my mother made a resolution that day, and she decided that the family has to leave Lansdowne. And after a few months, we went to Allahabad. My mother was transferred to Government Girls High School as a teacher in Allahabad. I got admission in St. Joseph. My brother was to follow a year later. And so the journey started, our life started in Allahabad. My younger brother, who's in films, as you know, never loses an opportunity to tell the rest of the members of the family that after all, it was a film and John Wayne which brought us to Allahabad and perhaps changed the course of our lives. So now we were in Allahabad, and those of you who have been to Allahabad, you know that Allahabad has a distinct character. You know, there were two great institutions there, Allahabad University and Allahabad High Court. And for some reason, the city has also attracted a lot of intellectuals, writers, poets, who have made Allahabad their home. So I was very fortunate to be in Allahabad when Allahabad had retained it still had its old world charm. Like in Allahabad University, there were many study clubs. I joined a club called Elysium, and we had discussions. We used to call a senior advocate or a professor or a judge who used to deliver lecture every Saturday. And then there was a film club in Allahabad, which opened world cinema to us. It was there that we saw the film of Bergman and Kurosawa and Vittoria De Sica and our own great Satyajit Ray. But now, in any case, we were moving ahead. And in between, I was sent to study in a boarding school in Lucknow called UP Sainik School, where perhaps I spent the best years of my life as a student, and I made lifelong friends. One of them is here today in the audience. And later, the university education, first Allahabad and then JNU, it taught me to be humble. It was my university education which showed me how ignorant I was. There was so much to learn. And it was in the university which first stimulates you intellectually. It is in a university that a student really starts using what is called his intellect. I was also very fortunate to have dedicated and excellent teachers, both in my school and in my university. Because teachers are very important. Not just because what they teach or how they teach you, but it is a teacher who first whets your desire to know more. It's a teacher who takes you to the path of learning and knowledge. So it was a teacher, if whatever I have achieved, a great part of it goes to my teachers. So I never planned a career in law. In fact, after doing my master's, as the president of the Bar Association has just now said, I got admission in Syracuse in an MPhil program, but there was no immediate scholarship. So I needed money, and my father was not very keen because he wanted me to become a lawyer. He was a High Court judge by that time. And I was trying to persuade him, and there were things that had not yet finalized when a tragedy struck and my father passed away. And then the entire world changed for me. I knew I had to be in Allahabad and I had to take up law. But very soon I realized that this is the only reason why I took up law, apart from other compulsions, was that I was very sure that this is one profession which will keep me awake to the problems of people. And how it was excellent, it was very true. It actually did that. No other profession will take you so close to people as law would. As all young lawyers would know, it is never easy for a young lawyer, and so it was with me. Those who have seen Allahabad High Court must have seen the long corridors of Allahabad High Court. There were times when I used to walk the corridors of High Court briefless, but I had hope and I had patience. In fact, Alexander Dumas, in his book Count of Monte Cristo, says that the entire wisdom of the world can be reduced to two words: wait and hope. So I was patient, and gradually cases started coming in, and I developed a reasonably good practice to sustain me and my family. In Allahabad, I had a neighbor who was a retired High Court judge, and I'm sure all of you in the audience must be familiar with his name. He was Justice Jagmohan Lal Sinha, the judge who gave his verdict in the Rajnarayan petition, which unseated Mrs. Indira Gandhi, the then Prime Minister of India. So valuable advice came from this gentle soul whenever I sought these advice. He was so good. And I have never seen any person getting the kind of respect that Justice Sinha got from ordinary men and women in Allahabad. One day, I asked him, I didn't ask him actually, it was my friend who was taking his interview. He asked him, "Sir, don't you think you are slightly harsh to Mrs. Gandhi?" And Justice Sinha replied, "No, I was not harsh. But yes, if anything was harsh, perhaps it was the law. The law perhaps was harsh." Later, when the new state of Uttarakhand was created in November 2000, some of us lawyers, we decided to go and see for ourselves how the new High Court functions on the first day. So a group of lawyers, including me, went to Nainital, though by that time I had decided that sooner or later I'll shift my practice to Nainital, but immediately I had no plans. But when I went there, I was offered the post of Chief Standing Counsel, which I accepted, and then immediately I had to shift to Nainital. Fortunately, I also got a teaching assignment to give the law input in the Administrative Training Institute, which used to still trains the civil servants in Uttarakhand. And that then began my journey as a lawyer for another 8 years, where I used to teach and I used to take law classes. See, Nainital High Court was much smaller than Allahabad High Court. Allahabad High Court was a much bigger High Court. It's the biggest High Court. Even in that time and now, it's the biggest High Court in the country. But what was different for me in going to Nainital at that time was that in Allahabad, I was getting the run-of-the-mill cases like all young lawyers get, rent control and pure civil matters and service matters. Here, I was defending the main cases for the government. Every week, the policies of the government were under challenge: excise policy, mines policy, forest, tourism. The only difficulty was that in Nainital, there were no stalwarts. There were no senior advocates whom you can go and say, "Bhai, kya karna hai?" So the only alternative was to go to the books and find solution for yourself, which I did. Luckily, as I told you, I was teaching in ATI, and ATI had an excellent library and a large section on law itself, where I was also given a very comfortable and well-heated room, because that's very important in Nainital. And then library became my second home, where I prepared my lecture and also litigated for the state. Then I became a judge of Uttarakhand High Court in November 2008. And then I realized that now the roles have changed. You see, as a lawyer, your concern is to do your best as a lawyer. The concern of a judge is not to go wrong. At least initially for the judge, kuch galti na ho jaye. Ahram Barak is a name familiar to most of us. He was the president of the Israel Supreme Court. And he writes somewhere that he was very conscious that every day he used to go and sit on a trial, he was also on trial. Because every day a judge sits in his court dispensing justice, there is a man sitting somewhere in the corner who's judging a judge. So it's very important for the judge how he behaves, how he talks, how he deals with the litigants and particularly with the lawyers. Because public will judge you not just by your judgments, but your personality as a whole. Then I took oath as a Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court in January 21. And at that time, we were in the midst of COVID. And then came the second wave, and then mercifully the vaccine. I still remember the vaccination which was done not just in Assam, but in all the areas which was our jurisdiction. The lawyers, the judges, they came forward and saw to it that each judge, each lawyer is properly vaccinated, which was a huge task, but we did it. Being in Supreme Court is always a challenge and is also very satisfying. One factor which distinguishes Supreme Court from all other courts is the pace of work, the pace with which the work is done here, particularly the Mondays and Fridays. When you're a new judge in a Supreme Court, for a week or two, you don't know what is happening. So it takes time. And the second is what I said in the meeting of SCORA yesterday, that is what I'm going to miss most is there is a Hindustan in front of you. The lawyers come, one case coming from Kerala, the other will be from Assam, and then Punjab. And then broadly the problems of all Indians are the same. We are dealing with the same problem. A century and a half ago, one judge from Madras goes all the way to Allahabad, that's in 1880s, to meet his counterpart who was a judge of Allahabad High Court. The judge who goes from Madras is Justice Muthuswamy Iyer to meet Justice Syed Mahmood of Allahabad High Court. And as we know, these are among the first two Indians to have become judges of a high court in the colonial era. And they talk, they stay together for a while, and then Justice Muthuswamy Iyer goes back to Madras. Now when he goes back to Madras, somebody asks Justice Mahmood, what is his opinion? What does he think about Justice Muthuswamy Iyer? So Justice Mahmood says, Justice Muthuswamy Iyer is a great judge and definitely far better judge than me. So people ask him, why do you say so? And Justice Mahmood replies, another great judge, he replies, because I am a judge of law and Justice Muthuswamy Iyer is a judge of fact. And a judge of fact is always better than a judge of law. So when I read this, I was a young lawyer in Allahabad and I couldn't make any sense of it. Because I thought, how can a judge of fact be better than a judge of law? Law is law, knowledgeable person. But I think lawyers will know, judges will understand that a judge of law may sometimes not be able to do justice in a given case in spite of his deep knowledge, in spite of very sharp intellect, precisely because he's a judge of law and he may be tied down with the case laws and the laws. In order to do a justice in a given situation, one has to change the role, and from judge of law, he has to become a judge of fact. And this is what I feel, that if there is really a craft, a method of judging, which has to be learned, it is how to become a judge of fact from a judge of law in a given situation, and when the situation demands. Because, you see, it is a judge of fact who will understand how the society functions. It is a judge of fact who will know that before a person can live honestly, he has to live. Thomas, this I said yesterday also, I'll repeat because there's a larger audience today. Thomas Noon Telford was a judge of common pleas in England in the first half of the 19th century and a very good friend of Charles Dickens. And Dickens praised him for his sense of justice and fair play. In fact, Dickens dedicated his book Pickwick Papers to Telford. Now, Telford has famously said, fill all the seats of justice with good men who are not so absolute in their goodness so as to forget what human frailties, what human weaknesses are. And see the coincidence, when he was saying this, broadly at the same time, our own Mirza Ghalib, here in India, here in Delhi, was saying something similar in one of his ghazals, when he said, you know that ghazal, Ibn Maryam hua kare koi, mere dukh ki dawa kare koi, and then he says, na suno gar bura kahe koi, na kaho gar bura kare koi, रोक लो गर गलत चले कोई, बख्श दो गर खता करे कोई. So I was truly blessed to have worked with extremely talented, totally dedicated, hardworking and knowledgeable judges everywhere, but particularly in Supreme Court, from whom I have benefited immensely. I am confident that the faith in our courts and judiciary will never be shaken, and the Supreme Court of India will continue to be the torchbearer and custodian of freedom and justice in this country. When Justice Krishna Iyer gave his seminal judgment in Bangalore water supply case, he was not merely expanding the definition of an industrial workman, he was also defining the role of a constitutional court when he says, courts too have a constituency, the nation. Courts too have a manifesto, the Constitution of India. I have just now told you that I hail from a remote part of this country, but in areas which are far remoter than mine, you know, there may be places where when a villager is harassed, when he's troubled by the system in a tehsil or a thana, you know what he says? He says, when enough becomes enough, he says, no, I'll go to High Court and I'll get a stay. So that villager knows that courts give something called stay. And if there is enough, I'll go to the High Court and I'll get a stay. Now it is this faith in the common man, which has kept our judiciary and our system alive. To the members of the bar, I say that lawyers were were in the forefront of the freedom movement of this country. They were freedom fighters. And when they won freedom for this country, amongst many of them were lawyers who were sitting in the Constituent Assembly and participated in those brainstorming sessions and gave the Constitution to us, which is the vanguard of our liberty and freedom. Therefore, lawyers must speak with courage and integrity. They should always be fearless. There is a famous novel in Hindi by Hazari Prasad Dwivedi called Van Bhatt Ki Atmakatha, in which he says, किसी से भी न डरना, गुरु से भी नहीं, मंत्र से भी नहीं, लोक से भी नहीं, वेद से भी नहीं, अगर सच के पाथ पे हो तो किसी से न डरना. People in this country look towards us with hope, and we must do our duty, both bar and bench, to keep our faith. I would now conclude by a poem by a well-known German playwright and poet called Bertolt Brecht. They won't say when the walnut tree shook in the wind, but when the house painter crushed the workers. They won't say when the child skimmed a flat stone across the rapids, but when the great wars were being prepared for. And they won't say when the woman came into the room, but when the great powers joined forces against the people. And they won't say the times were dark. Rather, why were their poets silent? I must thank my staff of my court as well as of my office, as without their support I could not have functioned as a judge. Mr. Jayant Arora, Mr. Nirmala Negi, Mr. Penunuma Gambhir, Madan, Mr. Anand Prakash, Ravin Singh, Jitesh Kumar, and Rahul Gupta, my law clerks, past and present, who devoted precious hour to prepare briefs and made things easier for me, who labored and researched so that I could write my judgments. Aditya Dhingra, Adhiraj Bali, Hriday Gandhi, Udit, Maitri, Ayushman, Sanandika, and Swarit. My family, my mother who is here in the audience today, my wife Vaishali, who has stood like a pillar with me in my thicks and thins and had the patience to bear with me and my strong views throughout her life. My three sons, Shorin, Sharang, and Shashank, who are the cynosure of my eyes, and my two talented daughter-in-laws, Devina and Dharvi, who are working in the field of environment and journalism respectively, and my two brothers, Himanshu and Tigmanshu, who have always been my conscience keepers, my friend, philosopher, and guide, mere Rehbar, mere Murshid. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Mr. R. Venkatam Nilan, Attorney General for India, to present books to Justice Dhulia. Honorable Mr. Justice Dhulia. To present a memento on behalf of the bar to Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, I request Mr. Vikas Singh, President, Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Vice President, and other office bearers of the SCBA to join on stage. I request Ms. Rachna Gandhi, Member Executive SCBA. She hails from Uttarakhand to read out the message given by Hon'ble Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia. दे दिया ना?
A very good evening, all of you. I'm reading this message on behalf of Honorable Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Judge, Supreme Court of India. It has been an honor to serve as a judge of this court. As I demit this office today, I wish to place on record my gratitude to the SCBA and to fraternity of lawyers for their unwavering support and cooperation throughout my tenure. Lawyers have to protect the life and liberty of the people of this country and fight against injustice wherever and whenever. We must have a learned bar which is also courageous and truthful. I leave my office with profound respect for this institution in which we have served together, and with a strong faith and belief the bar and the bench will continue to work in harmony to protect the rights of the people of this country. With good wishes. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you, Rachna. I request Mr. Minesh to be Joint Secretary SCBA to deliver vote of thanks.
Thank you, Pragya. Honorable Mr. Justice Bhushan Ramakrishna Gavai, Chief Justice of India. Honorable Mr. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, Judge, Supreme Court of India. Other Honorable Judges, Supreme Court of India, Sri R. Venkatamani, Learned Attorney General for India, esteemed members of the bar, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is both a privilege and solemn honor to deliver the vote of thanks on this momentous occasion as we bid farewell to Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, a jurist whose tenure on the Supreme Court bench has been marked by wisdom, grace, and unwavering commitment to justice. Justice Dhulia's journey from the beautiful hills of Uttarakhand to Supreme Court of India has been nothing short of inspiring. His judgments have reflected not only legal acumen, but also deep empathy, clarity of thought, and a profound understanding of constitutional values. Whether it was a matter of civil liberties, education, or administrative law, his voice on the bench has been one of reason, balance, and compassion. Today, as we gather to honor his contributions, we also celebrate the legacy he leaves behind, a legacy of integrity, humility, and judicial excellence. His presence enriched the court, and his departure leaves behind a void that will be deeply felt by colleagues, members of the bar, and litigants. On behalf of the Supreme Court Bar Association, and indeed the entire legal fraternity, I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Justice Dhulia for his remarkable contribution. We thank him for his dedication to the Constitution, for his fairness in adjudication to the Constitution adjudication, and for the dignity with which he conducted himself both inside and outside the courtroom. We also extend our warm wishes to Justice Dhulia for the journey ahead. May this new chapter be filled with peace, purpose, and continued service to the society in whichever form he chooses. I also thank Mataji, Sumitra Dhulia. Thank you, ma'am, for coming. I thanks Ms. Basali, ma'am, wife of Justice Dhulia, and other family members and friends of Justice Dhulia who are present here. We are deeply thankful to all the judges of Supreme Court of India, Justice Ajay Rastogi, retired Judge, Supreme Court of India, Justice Sri Tushar Mehta, Learned Solicitor General of India, other distinguished law officers, legal luminaries, senior advocates, and members of the bar who have joined us today to celebrate this occasion. Your presence adds immense value to this farewell function. I also thank Mr. Kailash Vasdev, Ms. Rachna Srivastava, former Vice President, Mr. Rohit Pandey, former Secretary, SCBA. I also thank Sri Vipin Nair, President, Sri Nikhil Jain, Honorary Secretary, and Mr. Kaustubh Shukla, Joint Secretary of SCBA. I extend my heartfelt thanks to London Secretary General Sri S.C. Mughante, Mr. Kuntal Sharma, Registrar, and other registrars of Supreme Court and the media persons. I lastly wish Justice Dhulia a very happy birthday in advance. Please join us for high tea on the ground floor.